Hi, Sharda Ugra again. Welcome to Out of the Park. Today we are going to be speaking to the man known to all of social media as Karachi Khatmal, Ahmer Naqvi, writer, commentator, and as I like to call him, the buster of hypocrisies in cricket. We'll go straight into a conversation with Ahmer, and then we'll get back to talking about India versus Pakistan, what's going on at the World Cup, and all the rest of it. Welcome today to Ahmer Naqvi, whose work I have read for ages. Ahmer he likes to describe himself as a freelance writer on pop culture.
Yeah.
Is that the correct? Yeah. So my description of Emmer is in Karachi. Hello, Emmer. Welcome. Hello from Bangalore. Hello from Delhi, where the studio is recording this through some technological wizardry. Emmer, I like to say that he's basically a caller out of hypocrisies. He's like an independent caller out of hypocrisies. And Emmer, freelance is actually not the word to use. The word to use is independent, because in journalism in both our nations, independence is a rare thing. Anyhow, we are here to talk about India-Pakistan cricket. We are here to talk about this match that is going to be there. But first of all, congratulations on a fantastic victory yesterday. I would let you know that on Hotstar's streaming service, there were 1 crore people that were watching. So that is 100 million people were watching the match yesterday, which is a non-India game, I think, which must be the biggest number for a non-India game that we've seen in the history of streaming and Hotstar and whatever it is. So welcome, Ahmed. A great match yesterday.
Yeah, it was. I think abhi tak is World Cup mein we hadn't had a match that was exciting. We had a lot of one-sided contests, and of course, Pakistan and Sri Lanka are going to be the teams that offer you that excitement. And then once again, like I've been thinking about this whole morning, not just in cricket but across sports, like to find team that has this ability, like basically Pakistan cricket forces you to really rethink the, the Western rational legal worldview because it's like Mother Arshad, who's a big statistician, who's done really phenomenal work out of Pakistan. He said yesterday Pakistan team is a slap in the face of logic because we've gone 1,000 balls in power play without hitting a six, and we just chased down the highest total.
Data log sun rahe ho aap? हाँ, देना. Data gurus.
Yeah, so I think जैसे कि मैं कहता हूँ Pakistan basically, I was thinking about this today because in the world we can't quantify like emotions and feelings. So we pretend when we analyze the world, we analyze it without recourse to those things. And I think when you look at a match like yesterday's, that you're like, actually, no, maybe we don't know how to record this and analyze this, but this is not explained by logic. This is explained by these things that we experience but don't know how to quantify.
Hmm. And the great quote that came out of it came from the great Rizwan after that fantastic innings. And they were asking him about his cramping, and he was looking like he's going to fall and he's going to need stretcher and all. He said some of it was cramps and some of it was acting. I thought that was brilliant. I was like, fantastic. This is obviously not a media trained person. He's not coming out and going to talk about process and I wanted to do it for the team. He said, "Bhai, some of it was acting, some of it was cramps." You know.
So, Sharda, I would say this is one of those great things about Pakistani culture that certain things are at that what they call the horseshoe. That's like they're either it's so like either it's completely media untrained. That's one way of looking at it. A friend actually compared it to Shah Rukh Khan in his late career, where Shah Rukh is in on the joke that his films are cheesy, his heroines are much younger, he's an old man doing this. Shah Rukh kind of makes those movies and then he comes and makes fun of them himself. That's what Rizwan does because like this thing about Rizwan acting is a really major theme, not just in amongst cricket fans in Pakistan, but even amongst cricketers. That like we've heard this obviously rumors and comments and whatever. So Rizwan was aware of that, I feel, and he's responding to that. So there is, I think that's the brilliance of it, that it feels at one level it's either completely off the cuff, completely naive. At another level, it's a Shah Rukh Khan level of media mastery.
I mean, it is literally like you have turned everything on its head and says, okay, what are you going to do about this now? I'm telling you, it's acting. And
Yeah.
listen, professional football is full of acting. Professional football, the best players give you their best performances, and performance doesn't mean just with their feet and their heads and their whatever else, the various parts of their body. Performance is also what they do with every single time they sort of topple over or dive or don't dive or whatever. So,
I would say Shraddha कि रिजवान के साथ sorry no रिजवान के साथ जो the criticism comes from the fact that when you're in football, when you're play acting, the point is very obvious, right? Like you're wasting a finite amount of time ताकि your team's chances to win improve. With Rizwan, it's not particularly clear if his acting is in the service of the team. Like it's his own larger narrative that's playing out. And yesterday was a brilliant example of it because if you're thinking just about the score and Pakistan winning, then it's like stressful AF.
yeah,
But as a performance of what he did,
I mean,
the cramps and the batting were both phenomenal.
exactly, the cramps and the batting. And so it's like he's the hero in his own story and in his own movie. And if you're watching it, fantastic, because these are the things he can do. I mean, it was terrific. It was such fun to see the to see all of it, and to watch the Sri Lankans also sort of playing a part and being very gentle and generous about it, like kind of hovering around him anyway. So now let's come back to this match that apparently, if you from the looks of it, I just saw a message on. The internet where I don't have a presence, but I'm lurking, which said that there's going to be a sort of a little bit of a setup show before the match starts. So it's almost like the opening ceremony is happening on Saturday, because
Yeah.
India's playing Pakistan. Because like someone says, कि और कोई world matches तो पता नहीं someone else is playing, but our World Cup is this one match, India versus Pakistan in Ahmedabad on the 14th. So let's talk about it. And what has bothered me for a long time, it's let's not talk about form and falana damkana, because everybody will be doing it. Shubman Gill will not be there. Oh God, like I said, sky is falling and all that. Let's talk about Mauka. We had this discussion yesterday when I was talking to Ahmer that, listen, I find that really annoying and I just find it disrespectful and all the rest of it. And you gave me this fantastic take on the entire Mocha set of ads that appeared. Because normally it's not the thing we do. Our ads are very funny. Indian ads are very funny and very witty, but they're not mean. They're not like mean spirited and so on. But you didn't seem to think that Mocha was mean.
Don't quote me on that. Right? I would
It's
start
recording live. Yeah.
when it came out, the build up to the World Cup. I think in the entire history of Pakistan India cricket, nothing had cut deeper than that. Um, and as you said, it's mean, but it's also like when you are watching it, you're like, okay, it's mean, it's picking on these guys who haven't won anything. But when you are the guy who hasn't won anything, it really kind of punctures your soul, which it did. And it came at a time, we were talking about this yesterday, it came at a very like different trajectory for India and Pakistan cricket, right? Where India had just a few years ago formalized the big three revenue share and kind of formalized its control over institutional control over cricket, while Pakistan was in its sixth year of exile, was playing in empty stadiums, had really changed its cricketing identity to conform to that, which was very difficult to kind of live with. So in that weakest of moments, this ad comes really, punching down. And so that way I felt that meanness. I'm not going to deny that. And then, when India lost, and in that, Afridi mentions it actually, like, he's just
Yeah.
like, he's there, like, what do you think about India losing? And he sings the song, which
Yeah.
straight away was like, that's the kind of, when you are mean, jab aap, can I be like a bit stereotypical and bigoted, but it's about my own community. My dad's side is from Bihar, and like what we hear always is कि जो ना कटे आरी से वो कटे बिहारी से, right? So like I'm good at being mean, So I definitely I definitely appreciated Mocha Boca at that level, and then when Afridi kind of throws it back, one of the things is when you're really mean, you're also setting yourself up if things don't work out for you, right? And when India
Exactly.
loses, so of course, like we have a little bit of woe about it. But over the years, as that ad passed, and particularly like I was talking to you, like after the pandemic when sports were shut down, I was really thinking about that, and I'd been working in sports for a while. Like that World Cup was the first World Cup I worked show during, etc. And so when you're working in cricket, it really, for somebody like me, especially who's not really into the analytical aspect of it, like there's stories you want to tell, and the characters change once you know them and interact with them versus when you're a guy sitting at home and just typing away, right? And it becomes more nuanced, but you lose that kind of fandom which has that ability to go binary and blind and whatever. And
Yeah.
so uske baad, I was thinking about like, I was thinking about fandom, and I was thinking about like when sports stopped, what it meant. And that ad I kept coming back to, because what's the thing that's really interesting there is that the guy, they show him from 92, growing older, has kids, etc. He's showing up every time to watch Pakistan lose to India, right? And that's what we all do.
Yeah.
And to me, that's fascinating that, like, okay, how far can you stretch this narrative interest? Because now it's like, whatever, 10 matches or something, but we won one and whatever. But either way, however you look at that, maybe the last few years have given that narrative some tensile strength back. But like mostly you've been stretching it really thin, and you expect at some point it'll break. But it doesn't break because obviously India and Pakistan has so much context that every time they play at cricket, regardless of whatever else is happening, this becomes a big thing. And so, when you're crafting narratives yourself, when you're telling stories yourself as a writer, it's intriguing and it's really fascinating to see what stories humans keep connecting to across a long length of time, right? Like, what is the appeal here? And so the appeal of sports, to me, is really understood in that ad, because the guy is suffering every time. He's never burst those fireworks, right? Like
Yes. Yes.
when we beat India at the World T20, I took a screenshot of his face and I pasted it. I said, "This win is for this guy because
Yeah.
today he gets to. Today is the
Wonderful.
Mausa, right?" And but what's interesting is that all of us are still showing up every time. And so to me, the thing is, oh, I used to think people follow sports because of jeete and then you're sharing the glory and you're really excited or whatever. But that's not true, right? Like you are this guy, and he's a stand-in for all of us Pakistani fans, has shown up at every World Cup and will show up at this World Cup, which again, the semiotics of it are so toxic that I don't even want to list them out right now, because it'll make our lives hell in the aftermath. So, but that's I think the really beautiful thing about sports is that you're not really watching because you want your team to win. Yes, you'd love for that to happen, but you're watching because it's your team, and whatever you've decided is your team is giving you some sense of the universe. So even though Pakistan loses to India every time, you're showing up. In fact, there's this great video. There's this YouTube channel called Side Talk, and they go around New York City and they document random people. And they have this video of New York Knicks, the basketball team, their fans celebrating, and they're going absolutely crazy. And one of them says that, he names two politicians, the mayor and the governor. He said, we went through their eras and it was horrible, but we had the Knicks. Except the Knicks
Mm.
are one of the worst teams in the
Yes.
NBA. They were
Yes.
celebrating a win in the first match of an 82 match regular season before you get to the playoffs. It's just like, dude, your team sucks, but they're like, it helps us get through this. So that to me is actually the Mocha guy is the truer fan, because when you, especially in sports and
Yeah.
advertisements, you always show like people going like, yeah, we love our team. They always show the victories. I mean, that's what we all focus on. But as you and I know, when we're writing, we're telling stories about sports, these victories are not necessarily the most enduring narratives, and they on their own are not necessarily that valuable. And I think so that guy's journey is actually a truer depiction of fandom than anything you'll see.
That's extraordinary you say it, and you're right what you say about victory, because when you're writing about it, to write about a victory that's come after a long time is fabulous. But and it just brings out the best in you and all the stuff that's happened in the past, and it's there and it's out there, and you're trying to just remember all the stories and put them down of suffering, like the Mocha guy. But then if it keeps happening over and over again, as a reporter, you say, okay, now what do I write? As a journalist, I say, "Acha, where's the drama? Where's the drama here?" Not that we want there to be unnecessary drama in the in the match on Saturday. But I want to ask you about what is it? What do you think it's the fabric of the India-Pakistan rivalry now that it's been jumped on by so many people, so many by the market, by broadcasters, and it's almost like the fans have been taken away from it, and it's been turned into this little packageable thing that's out there that now which we are just ingesting.
I think this is one of the things like ek jo, within the context of people who are journalists, or as you put it yesterday, cricket people. So we're dealing with a lot of these people. You have to get an interview from this guy, and you have to work with this guy on a podcast or whatever, and so sometimes it's cricketers who like on the outside everyone is like this guy is king or whatever, and the inside you work with them as like a colleague, and they're like this guy's a dickhead. So like I know,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sorry for my language, but
Yeah, we'll beep. It'll be beeped and whatever and all that. That's
great,
fine. Go
great.
ahead. Go ahead.
But I think that when you come back to it, like so what my answer right now is not really about like something that's maybe tangible, but what we're talking about is like, as you said, what is the fabric of this rivalry? I would say in the recent past, it is probably narratively it's in a good place. I think structurally and institutionally it's in a really bad place because we don't play each other enough, and we don't play each other in T20 franchises, which is really where a lot of like actual cricket's narratives are forming right now, I feel, and are more sustainable than national cricket. That being said, the national teams last 6 years have actually had a rivalry. And I think if you want to look at one thread that maybe keeps the purity of India-Pakistan rivalry, it's the person and the exploits of Virat Kohli. I think let's 2017, it's Kohli and the rest of them that get out and whatever, and Pakistan has a famous victory. But afterwards, it's Kohli who's like chilling with the Pakistanis. It's Kohli also. I don't know if you know about this. There's a really famous video of like at when Pakistan is batting still, and it's almost the end of the innings. Kohli's a boundary rider. This guy from the stands yells at him, "Kohli nahi hota tujhse chase." And at that point, Kohli could chase down like anything in the world. And it
Yeah.
was like crazy for a Pakistani fan to say this. So Kohli was really central to the idea of that match. And then he's pally with the Pakistani players, and in some ways like that begins his downfall within certain sections of Indian fandom. Then you get to the World T20 encounter, which at the MCG, like so many people have said that, like Australians were like, we've never heard the MCG go this loud for this long. And that match, like Pakistan plays possibly the greatest it's ever played in an ICC tournament against India. Not possibly, definitely. Including the previous World Cup, where we beat them by 10 wickets, I think. And yet Virat Kohli plays one of cricket's greatest innings. And then he comes back in the Asia Cup, and he's like friendly. And then I don't know if you've seen the Kohli and Shadab memes about
Yeah.
like so what you keep seeing is that amongst all the gandbala and the dirt and the toxicity, when you look at the symbolism of Kohli, because the other thing is, at a time like this where there's obviously a lot of political and tension on all those terms, in all my life of watching any cricket fandom, Kohli is more popular like than anyone I've known. Like Kohli, at some point you start comparing to like Maradona and Muhammad Ali in terms of like, because there's no foreign cricketer that's been this big in Pakistan and across all these different strata of society, vertically, horizontally, etc. And that's to me has also been really fascinating because it's not like Kohli destroys us regularly, you know. I and again, like you get the sense from even the players that after these last few years, they feel confident around a lot of people, but the reverence that they speak of about Kohli and everything. And I have to really say, this Pakistan side deserves a lot of credit. I'm sorry if I'm rambling a little bit, but
No,
because again, not only have they played really well against India, but stuff like Shaheen gifting something to Bumrah for his child and whatever. Like these are really, really huge steps that they're not really doing because they're media trained and whatever. Like there is a genuine sense of camaraderie there. Which obviously makes sense. You're part of two crazy countries that are obsessed with cricket. Like, they know what the other is going through in a way none of us can understand. And so that, yeah. So I'd say Kohli and this Pakistan team, to a lesser extent, are really, to me, have given some purity and some kind of um, frivolity almost to what is otherwise a very depressing and weighted uh, topic.
It's lovely, Emma, the way you put this, because we keep looking for these little strands that we can just hang on to as this thing gets uglier and uglier and more attached to various sort of political and things relating with power and all the rest of it. It's lovely what you said about Kohli. Kohli's managers will be most excited to hear that he is the most popular international cricketer in
I
Pakistan.
knew when I was going to say Kohli that this, all the people, not just you, but also the Indian journals I know watching Sid Monga High, will just be like, ah.
So anyhow, no, full credit to the way Kohli has conducted himself, both as a cricketer and on the other side what he represents, as well as the whole Indian team in that sense. Couple of things very quickly, because I like we could go on forever. Is There was a story that, so you were talking again, I'm just sort of jumping back to what you said about Pakistan being the opposite of logic and all about emotion. So when the 2011 final, a semi-final was happening, Osman, Samyuddin and me went to Chandigarh to watch this game, and we were fed up of writing about our own teams. So I said, I'll write about Pakistan, you write about India. So we made that switch, and that's what I wrote about. I said, Pakistan cricket is about going out and playing and just having that sense of fun, and it's not fun and of course unpredictability and craziness, but it's not this whole thing that's like structured and matchups and data and all that stuff. That stat that you said about 1,000 balls in power play without hitting a six is just beautiful. I mean, I think it should be framed and put up somewhere. All the old-fashioned sort of cricketers and coaches and all say, see, we knew it. So coming back to this whole India-Pakistan story, we had a small chat yesterday, Emma and I, about. So tell us before you go. I know there's one more important thing we have to discuss, but sticking to India and Pakistan, there was a time in which we played. India and Pakistan played a lot between say 2004 and 2006, seven, and then it stopped. You have a story about what it was like, given the fact that it's been so difficult for Pakistani journalists, never mind fans, to get visas. What it was like growing up in college. What was your, you were saying that it was a very different border crossing that happened at that time.
Yeah, so I spent the years 2004 to 7 studying at LUMS, which is the university in Lahore. And just before I joined, LUMS had hosted the Indian team when they'd come in that tour, which was itself like a really famous occasion because the students were chanting for Balaji, and it was, big kind of coverage of that tour. And as you said, that period, it's like, I mean, I was literally a universe undergrad, so the naivety, they was basically, especially with LUMS having institutional links, etc. Like almost every 2 weeks, like the debating society is going to India or the Falana society is going to India, and the thing was, I just really regret because like in my mind it was like this is as easy as going up to Munza or like somewhere in Pakistan. So I'll do this, not this semester, that semester, etc. And I never ended up doing it because the other reason was that is that everyone who went, all the Pakistanis were so exoticized that like literally like the kind of guy who's like the shyest and really awkward and doesn't know how to speak to people, वो पता चला वो इंडिया गया है और मतलब हर बंदा उसको you're Pakistani and whatever, and he's like dancing at the nightclub and he's like, I've never felt more confident. So it was just like everyone was going there for like an ego boost because it was just like we were both kind of allowed to like touch and see each other, like, oh, you're real, and because as you said, like, so in hindsight I really understood that actually India Pakistan, whenever the military is in power, then India tours Pakistan because sports as the opiate of the masses, Wali logic say, like this is something that in the Ayub era was not really well established because cricket was not that big a deal, but I think they played then as well. But then by the time you have the Zia era, he really understands like, oh, nothing distracts people in the mainstream that matters like this. Which is not to say cricket is truly national sport, particularly then or even now. But yeah, and so Uswak bhi, the era you're marking is basically uninterrupted military rule, and 2007 ke baad, then that changes, and then the Mumbai attacks changed that trajectory even further. But it was a crazy time because because Lahore is also right next to India. Like their housing societies now they're literally at the border at this point. People when you when you're on dating apps, you can match with people in Amritsar, and someone's even done a story about like Amritsar Lahore romances on Tinder. So it's very close, and in that moment, India felt so accessible, and it's bizarre to imagine that now because even as a journalist, like up until like 2012, 2013, if you got invited to an event or something, it was still possible. After 2014, the only person I know is a colleague who was invited when Ivanka Trump came to India, and for some reason they invited Pakistani startups as well. But that at this point now, journalists are not being able to get visas to cover a World Cup. So even I mean, with the team, it was hilarious because as far as I know, on Pakistan's end, the India had not provided the documents that you need to apply for visa. And so finally, when Pakistan complained, one of the things that India was like, oh yeah, because they hadn't applied till then, and it was like, yes, they couldn't apply without the documents. Except everyone I talked to in Pakistan was just so used to Pakistani incompetence that they were like, yeah, well, Pakistan hadn't applied. And I was like, for once, this is not our fault. Um, and so yeah, to go to that state where you're not even sure the teams are going to travel, it's yeah, things have changed beyond recognition.
So, for those who don't know, LUMS is the Lahore University of Management Sciences. It's a very, very prestigious university, and that's where the Indian team had gone. I was there that evening, and it was absolutely mental. What you're saying is interesting about how the fact that it's changed. So what I'm thinking now is it's almost like the BCCI feels that India Pakistan is fantastic as long as it didn't have Pakistanis in it. Then it'll be great. India Pakistan rivalry without Pakistanis would be fantastic of any kind. Cricketers, by now, what to do? We have to get them at the way. If they couldn't, they would make sure they did turn up. What is your just one last question, Emma? What is your view on how the world has taken this sort of very badly organized World Cup in the sense of not at the every ground level. We're getting different reports from different grounds, but in terms of scheduling, the fact that the Pakistani journalists can't turn up. It's the first World Cup where they haven't been. They've got accreditation, but they can't get there. So what is the ICC's role in this in terms of actually being an international body that's able to stand up for all its members and not just the person with the biggest gun in the room in that sense?
I think this is the question I feel very strongly about, and I feel I want to start by thanking and acknowledging you for the article you did on Jay Shah in the Caravan, because in a very long time, it's literally the only person that I know of, and I feel I'm pretty up to date on this, who's has been able to call out the BCCI as an institution and how it's behaved over the recent past and provided a breakdown of what exactly that is. And I say that because it's not this is not like obviously Jay Shah's tenure is responsible for this World Cup, and I'll just get to that in particular. But as I said, like it's been a decade since India kind of formalized a reworked cricket world, and it's in places with like the it's not just about like the English and Australian boards, but also the media there and the kind of conversations we have. And I feel watching this over the last decade, what really struck me is just how shoddily and terribly cricket as a sport is organized. And so like one of the main things is that there's no context to, okay, I played Sri Lanka and I beat them, but then Sri Lanka beat South Africa, who beat India. What does that mean? Cricket has existed in this random mess where okay, the Ashes happen, and that's it. Everything else is up in the air. Okay, then you have this ODI World Cup and whatever, but that came pretty late in the game. And again, that has like rugby has 32 teams in its World Cup. Cricket is never going to have 32 teams. One of the things is that the only places cricket has expanded to meaningfully are those that have a colonial relationship. So Afghanistan has become a side because of the politics, not necessarily because of the ICC. So I think that at this point, what we all came to realize is literally like how the ICC was never set up to be a global body, right? It was like a colonial institution that, as the post-colonial world changed, really didn't know what to do with itself. And capitalism kind of took over, and then there is no kind of even deference to kind of some institutional propriety at this point. You had that until a few years ago. I think that that's what made the Jay Shah regime different, was that cricket already, as I'm saying, so it's a really kind of terrible structure. When you look at other sports, how precisely they are planned. Like, and I love giving the example of American sports. I think because of some Victorian hangover, we all like to criticize American sports. I think they're brilliant. Um, the Americans have like the whole year goes. So the spring and summer is baseball, and then the fall and winter is American football, and then the late winter and summer is they everything is planned out properly, and we have these big occasions around the sporting events. And with cricket, we kind of stumble into these things because the value to it in our societies are so huge. But as a sport, it's just laughable. And it finally caught up. Like it's been pretending to be, it's like seven kids inside a trench coat pretending to be an adult. But now, when you look at the Rugby World Cup and the Football World Cup and Formula One or whatever, and you compare that to cricket, it's like, I mean, it's a joke, right? Like, can you imagine the Super Bowl not having released its tickets 4 days before the event? Like, days you can't really when you compare it as like when you're working as a journalist, when you're working as an administrator, creator, whatever in these fields, and you compare the work you're doing versus people in other sports, you're like, I'm working in what a subcontinent with. Like, we're working in a state organization. We're not working in a
Yeah,
corporate
yeah,
field.
yeah. And because exactly what you said. So one of the things I'm saying repeatedly over the last 2-3 days was, whoever will ask and also listen, is that a few years ago, India, there was a shooting World Cup held in New Delhi, and the Pakistani shooters could not take part in that because there was some visa issue. And immediately the International Shooting Federation downgraded that event. They took it from whatever it was, you'll get Olympic quota, whatever, and they downgraded and said, no, it's not going to happen. So, of course, like I said, the Pakistani team are there, so we have to be grateful. But this sort of shambolic organization has only come to be what old people from the ICC told me and tell me in that story, is that the people at ICC's sort of head office don't feel powerful enough to challenge the Indians and say, what are you doing? There used to be Professor Shetty, who I interviewed last week, said he had a call as tournament director. He had a call with the ICC every 2 weeks that were asking him questions. And of course, they were frustrated that those questions just kept coming and they were just bothering them. Whatever. But at least there was this conversation. I don't think there's been this kind of a conversation, going by the fact that the schedule was released 100 days with 100 days to go. Anyhow, we could go on, like I said, forever. Emma, I must also tell everyone who's watching this video to please look for Ahmer Naqvi's writing everywhere, because you will find stories there about music and about food, and his story in the website 52 about Karachi biryani. The fragrance is still lasts. Thanks so much. Let's cross our fingers and hope we have a good game. A game without rancor from the stands, a game without rancor on the field, all of it, and just let's hope we have a fantastic match, and fingers crossed for all of that. Thank you so much, Emma. It was lovely to talk to you. Apologies for pronouncing your name like some Western person who cannot read.
Western people have a very different take on my name. Like, that's another genre altogether. But no, thank you so much. Very, very kind. And so, as I said to you, like, I've been a huge fan of your work for a very, very long time. It was a real honor to speak with you on this. And as for the match, yeah, let's hope the Mocha guy gets one more chance to take his fireworks out.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you very much, Emma.
Take care. Take care. Bye bye.
So a great conversation there with Emma that I had just about 24 hours ago. And now coming back to the World Cup, coming back to everything that's going on, to start with, India are 2-2, a very, very good and a very strong start. Their odds naturally have dropped crazily because they are looking very good. It's gone from one to it was one. You put in one, you get two. Now you put in one, you get about 1.5 or 1.3. So that's how strong India are looking with as far as the odds go. The next match, of course, is the big one. I think India's World Cups always started a little shakily with a little bit of a stutter, and it took a week or so for the fans to kind of relax and get over it. And in Rohit Sharma's team has been fantastic. They had 2 for 3 or 3 for 2 or whatever that number is, that will make all of us crazy if you think about it, against Australia. And then they got out of it very, very quickly. And in their next match against Afghanistan, it was a dominant performance. Rohit Sharma was man of the match, incredible 100. But you would think, I think maybe Jasprit Bumrah deserved that man of the match. Rohitians, forgive me, but I'm always on the side of bowlers when it comes to handing out trophies and credit and so on. While we're on to India-Pakistan next, but because that's a slightly complicated and a long-ranging and a complex issue, I think it's time to basically look at the fans' voice. What we've heard from the fans at the various grounds so far is that Delhi has got top marks. Delhi, Firozshah Kotla, Jaitley Stadium, call it what you want, has got top marks, which is great. It shouldn't be something that is given once every 4 years. Because or once every how many ever years there's a World Cup match. I think it is what our fans are due. It's what they should get all the time. They purchase a ticket and walk into the stadium. It should be a much better experience. There was a big hullabaloo about drinking water, or as it is called at this World Cup, free drinking water, like it's a favor to people that are there. So we had a lot of buzz on social media. We'll be putting up the screenshots. You'll be able to see what people are saying. And there's a video of the fact that there was free drinking water, but the glasses to go with the plastic, and you have to drink them and leave them there. And this is in a post-COVID era. So who was thinking about that? In some places, there's been a really good feedback as to what the facilities like were for the crowd. People were happy with it. Had an amazing experience at the Arun Jaitley Stadium today. Is one of the tweets. It said, "New seats, colorful stands, free drinking water, cleaner toilets with added light effects." Now the whole thing of new seats, colorful stands, free drinking water, cleaner toilets, like I said, it should be a given. It should be a given. Delhi was actually one of the worst. Delhi press box. I'm not even talking about where the folks sit on the east and the west and the square sections of the ground. Delhi press box used to be horrific, and the entire area was just vastly improved when the IPL began. So people actually came in and gave the Delhi the press box was given a lift, and it was very comfortable for all of us sitting there. But and the spectator experience, I was told, had become better. So I think what the fans want basically is just that, just the basics. Clean, like at least clean the chairs. Make sure that they won't fall down. Make sure that they're in one place. That's all that people look for. I got two kind of responses from Hyderabad, both from journalists, I have to say. That one of them said it was a fantastic atmosphere and everything was very well managed. The other one, I think he probably got in from the wrong entrance. And he said that it was like walking into a Tasmac, which is, anyone will tell you, will be the liquor stores in Chennai, which are sort of slightly seedy and whatever it is they say about Tasmacs. I haven't been to one, so everyone who's been to a Tasmac will know what was being spoken of. So that's the two things that there are. And there's one message that said, I don't know why people are too much criticizing BCCI. They're posting old photos to just make others crazy. There's nothing bad in terms of quality. Clean seats, clean bathroom, free drinking water. So stop trusting fake videos and photos, guys. So this is someone who obviously had a very good stadium experience. And I think it does depend pretty much on the price of the ticket that you pay, which is, again, extremely unfair. So someone else then responds to all this and says, credit to DDCA and BCCI. Another plank is that Hyderabad photo, that's the one about the shabby state of affairs, was real. Way less crowd in Motera was real, and bad outfield in Dharamshala was real. So that's the kind of things that the fans are saying. And now let's get back to the other thing that fans are bothering about, particularly the ticket scenario. Yesterday at about 1:45 p.m. So that's October 11th, 1:45 p.m. The BCCI put out a tweet saying that, hey, tickets are available for the match against Pakistan on Saturday and the match against Bangladesh in Pune. And you're saying, so about half a million people, 457 lakhs, have looked at that message. And you're saying, what are you trying to do here? What is this organization in terms of ticketing? Haven't you sold tickets to somebody already? Haven't you distributed them free to whoever you had to distribute them to? What tickets are available and at what cost? And if these are high cost tickets that are available, are you trying to tell us that you won't fill the stadium in Motera? Of course, that seems absolutely impossible. The stadium will be packed without a doubt. But to put out a message just about 3 or 4 days before such a big game is due to take place and another India match is due to take place is outrageous, and it's just infantile planning. You just had to contact the people that handle ticketing at the other events that the ICs had. Everyone tells you once the tickets are out, and they're out in phases, right? They're out. Maybe this is their phased manner of saying that, okay, once we'll put out tickets with 45 days to go, and then again with 20 days to go, and then again with 3 days to go. That's rubbish phasing. That phasing happens in months in advance, and tickets sell out months in advance. And so this turned up, and no matter what we say about that it's easier in other countries, it's smaller. The point is, computers are involved, machines are involved. It should not be so difficult to put this in place if you have a proper structure that's there. I mean, the Pakistan Cricket Board, I've said this before, I'm saying this again, has a head of ticketing. And when I spoke to the head of ticketing, she said that, look, the tickets that are asked for by government and by politicians and all that there's that number. There is about 30% of our tickets go in that, they just go away, and then there's 70% that goes out to the crowd. Okay, I suppose, let's say it's the other way around. Let's say if 70% tickets are given free, and or they're given to clubs and government and whatever, and 30% of tickets are there available for the public. Why were there not 30,000 tickets to sell in a phased manner well before 45 days of the World Cup? So there we are. The fans are in this state, and let's see the things that they say. I think the fans had a great time at the ground because it's part of the programming. I mean, it's part of the event management. Whoever's done this is that every time there's a drinks break in the second session after the sun has set, they have this little light laser show, and when the floodlights flash, I get a bit nervous because what if they go out? What if they go out? And they play a song. So they played Natu Natu when Pakistan and Sri Lanka were playing in Hyderabad, and then they played Vande Mataram at the Firozshah Kotla. The Pakistan and Sri Lanka match at Hyderabad was interesting because I was told that there were 1 crore at one point in time towards the end of the game when it was getting tight. There were 1 crore watchers on 1 crore connections that was switched on in Disney Hotstar. That's about 100 million connections, and just multiplied that by how many people are watching that game. So it tells you about the enormous popularity of cricket in South Asia, of the Pakistani, the fans who want to watch the Pakistanis play, the fans who want to watch the Sri Lankans play, the fans who want to watch a good game of cricket. And they're not, and as much as they love the Indian team, they also want to watch other cricket. But what's happened in this World Cup is that all interest, all focus, all attention seems to have been focused on that one match. And now I will move on to the final segment, which is, I'm trying not to think it's political. Of course, the one match we're talking about is India versus Pakistan on Saturday at the Modi Stadium in Motera. There's going to be there's a Rangarang Karikram, colorful program, which sounds to me like an opening ceremony for a tournament which has begun 9 days ago, which is a bit idiotic. And they're saying that all their golden ticket holders. I mean, if you're a golden ticket holder, you're only coming to one game. Is this World Cup about that one game and the knockouts? So I was just trying to think as to what this World Cup looks like in terms of what we're seeing of administration and how it's being handled and organizational capabilities. And I've come to 2 possibilities. The first is that while India versus Pakistan is absolutely loved, it's just seen as a terrific match. It has, because it'll give you it will generate great revenue, great emotion, and great hysteria. It's a great generator of these 3 things. The problem is that you have to have the dispensations at various levels in this country at the moment, cricketing and non-cricketing, I think India-Pakistan is terrific. Now, why are the Pakistanis in it though? If only there were no Pakistanis in an India-Pakistan match. With great difficulties, players got visas. And as far as I know, I just got a message from a friend of mine who's racing to be there at the match. He's just got his visa yesterday. So, India-Pakistan, great cricket. But do we really need Pakistanis around? Unfortunately, you do. It's a World Cup. The other thing is that for the people that are there in the BCCI at the top, the office bearers as they are, it almost looks like there is only this match that matters, or there are only India matches that matters, and everything else is irrelevant. There's some other tournament going on around them, and it's India versus Pakistan, and then the other games that are there. So you're seeing this kind of indifference almost to the rest of the matches, the competitors in terms of engagement. I hope the state associations that are there will be able to do all this Atiti Devo Bhava, Vasudevo Kutumbakam, all this that is seen as part of Indian culture and Indian hospitality. I hope that will be felt by the teams, by the reporters that have come, by the crowds that come. We'll see how it goes. But of course, all of this, I'm trying not to think it's political. I'll see you next time.